Here on The Colour of Country Life, great to be speaking again with the member for Riverina, Michael McCormack. And Michael, congratulations, you are in the Shadow Cabinet. Could you tell us a bit about your role there?
Well, I'm the Shadow Minister for International Development of the Pacific, Ricky, and it's an important role given the external pressures on the Pacific at the moment and all the challenges that Australia and indeed the Pacific faces with so many aspects of life. Indeed, we are very much 130,000 workers short of where we would normally be as far as the economy is concerned for foreign labour. And of course, the Pacific have filled that role very admirably in many years past, given the fact that many of them come here to work in agriculture, work in health, work in hospitality, work in so many sectors of the economy, aged care, you name it. We rely very heavily on Pacific workforce labour, and that's been a great thing for both Australia and indeed the Pacific Islands. For them, it's a huge boost to their economy when their workers come here. They send money home to their families, and that's great for their GDP, and it's great to get the work done here. And so that Pacific Step Up campaign that Marise Payne, as Foreign Minister in the Liberal Nationals government, announced worked very, very well, and I'll continue that work that she did, that Zed Zelcha did, and others have done. And indeed, I've reached out to Pat Conroy, who is the Labor Minister in this area, and we've had a good chat. And, I think there's a lot of things that we can do on a very much bipartisan level to extend the hand of friendship that Australia does with the Pacific, of course, whenever there's a dreadful calamity such as we had earlier this year with Tonga, with that volcanic eruption. We're always the first there with our Navy ship, with supplies, with people to help with aid. And that will no doubt continue. And Pat and I had a very good discussion about what we could do together to help Australia, but more importantly, perhaps in this context, to help the Pacific. But it's wider than that. It's international development, so it stretches beyond the Pacific, but I'm looking forward to the role.
On the subject, it's good that you're working collaboratively with the Minister, but when we spoke with Murray Watt, the new Agriculture Minister, he had a bit of a go about the agriculture visa because David Littleproud and others in the National Party had concerns about the union movement trying to scare other countries out of joining up for this ag visas, and he claimed, Murray Watt, that there were members within the coalition that didn't want the scheme to expand beyond the Pacific because they were worried that the Pacific wouldn't be fully subscribed. Is that a concern, a legitimate concern within the Pacific, that they don't want it to expand to, say, Vietnam or other countries with the ag visa?
Well, I think we extended it to, I know we extended it to Vietnam, and those details were being worked through very much in a bilateral fashion, and other Southeast Asian countries were certainly being consulted, and we were working collaboratively with them. I mean, we need more workers than just the Pacific can supply, and we've always had workers for more than just the Pacific. And Southeast Asia, indeed Europe, elsewhere have been great sources of labour for Australia. It's difficult to get crops off. It's difficult to fill the bars of the pubs in outback Western Australia. To pull those beers and to make coffees in the cafes right around the nation, particularly in regional Australia. Regional Australia feels it most when we don't have that foreign labour workforce, and it's a shame we have to rely on it, but there's so much work and there's so much productivity going on in Australia, and certainly our government enhanced that despite COVID, despite bushfires, despite floods and mouse plague and everything else. Productivity, the economy was going well, productivity was up, and output was going well. And I appreciate. I listened to that interview with Murray Watt, and I recognise some of the things that he said in some aspects of the economy, but I also very much agree with David Littleproud. We need to ensure that ag visa certainly is worked upon, because we just need the foreign labour. We just need these people, and Murray only needs to get out of Brisbane, and he'll see that for himself, and I'm sure he will.
Now, on the international development front, there's been a lot of debate during the election campaign regarding the role of China in the Pacific itself, and I guess the assistance it's offered some countries. How important is it that Australia has a strong international development presence within the Pacific and Southeast Asia?
Oh, it's critical, absolutely critical, and we've always had a strong relationship on every platform. And, I appreciate too that China is our largest trading partner. I appreciate that China's very much trying to play an influential role in the Pacific, and we need to make sure that our sovereignty, that our national interest is put first and foremost. That's what we did as a government. That's what we would expect the incoming government to do, and it's an important role. I appreciate Richard Marles is reaching out to China. That's good. Words are one thing. We obviously need actions as well. So we'll be watching that space very, very closely. And I know that Simon Birmingham, certainly in his new role, new capacity, he'll be making sure that the government's held to account every step of the way to make sure that our national interest is always put first. And I'm sure the Albanese government will be trying to do the best thing too.
And now moving to some local matters, and Wagga Wagga, but also the broader Riverina, made a significant contribution when it comes to Australia's aviation effort, especially during the war years. And you've made some wonderful Top Gun references I thought were very well chosen, as I really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick myself.
Well, it's a movie we all remember, whether the original or what's out at the moment. But certainly Sam Brooks, the artist, has done a wonderful mural on the tank at the entrance in Newton Drive to the Air Force Base at Wagga Wagga, which has, of course, been going for many, many decades. And as I said at the time, I saw a protester once up at Williamtown who was complaining about the noise of the jet fighter engines, and she said, "That's noise pollution." I said, No, that is actually the sound of freedom. That is the sound of freedom. And we know that many, many airmen and 4 airwomen too are buried at the Wagga Wagga War Cemetery, and that's the sacrifice that we pay for freedom. And of course, out at the RAAF base now, we've got a wonderful mural which is the picture of freedom, and this wonderful RAAF Air Force mural commemorating the Air Empire training that went on during the Second World War that led to our defence of our aviation sector, our defence of our nation. First and foremost, this has been captured brilliantly by this artist on this mural, and anybody going down along that Sturt Highway should just drop into the RAAF base and have a look. It lit up at night. It shows all these wonderful stars, each one commemorating an Air Force person who died training to fight to save this nation during what were the darkest days of the Second World War. So it's a wonderful thing, and people should get along and see it.
Yeah, these murals and silo art are great commemorations of important contributions like those you mentioned. Did you pick up any souvenirs yourself in your time in government, or you got your own Maverick jacket, or even a pair of aviators yourself?
No, I've got a wonderful set of little model planes from Rex and Qantas and others whilst I was the aviation minister. But and I've even got a nice sort of propeller that I was given once, but it's rather heavy. It sits in my Wagga Wagga electorate office. But this mural commemorates Flight Lieutenant William Ellis Newton, of course, Victoria Cross recipient. He is the highest decoration for gallantry in the face of the enemy that can be awarded, and his image is brilliantly and beautifully captured on this tank. And as I say, people should get along and see it. The Air Force is very proud. Jeff Howard, the new commandant out there, very tall fellow. And my father once told me, you're getting older than the police and the military start to look young. And this we've got Andrew Deacon out at the Kapooka base, where every recruit does their training here at Wagga Wagga for Australia. He's in his late 30s, so they're getting very young, but they're brilliant men, brilliant service people. So many of the young girls out there the other day who came up and were all bright and chatty about how important this was to them. They're starting out on their careers, and they know the importance of training. They know the importance of Wagga Wagga plays in the overall training context, whether it's Army, Navy. Indeed, we've got a Navy base out at the RAAF Wagga as well, and of course the Air Force.
All right, Michael, your time's precious and we're running out of it, so thank you so much for joining us today on Flow. We'll catch you again soon.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thanks, Michael.